What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. We're finally back with another new legend breakdown. We now have information for Legend Queen. This is V2 Queen, and what's very interesting about this unit is they have brought back an old mechanic that we thought was never going to see the light of day. And it's going to be very interesting to talk about. Now, while we do have the breakdown of Legend Sanji as well, and I think most people are going to be more excited for Legend Sanji, myself included, I am glad that we are getting more representation for the new Queen, and this pretty much leads us into a potential new Zoro and new King. I'm very excited for King specifically. Hopefully we get some information on that sometime next week. But in terms of what Queen does, let's go ahead and talk about it. So, with Queen, no surprise at all, he is going to be int-driven, but he's also cerebral, and I actually had a bit of a sneaky suspicion that Queen was going to be a cerebral unit, and I think it totally fits for the character. You know, he's literally focused on science. He is a scientist, so the fact that he's cerebral kind of makes sense. Now, the big thing about this unit is, well, he's a super tandem number 1, that is interesting, but you do see there is no super type and there is no super class. So when you look at it at face value, you think, that's kind of strange. I don't really like that. But when you see what he actually does, it makes sense. So let's actually talk about it, because there is stuff to talk about here. Let's get into it, right? So Queen, with his captain ability, reduces crew's special charge time by 1 at the start of the quest. Boosting Driven and Cerebral, HP by 1.65, lots of HP, attack by 5 times, and then boost their attack by 5.75 with Recovery Tandem or a Wano slot, and then make Recovery and Tandem beneficial to the crew. So that's basically his captain. It's not really a good captain at all. However, captain actions make their return. Vanish. For 3 turns, protects character from certain status effects, character's normal attacks, ignore all enemies' defensive effects and defense, base defense is a big one, and adds 500 times this character's attack and non-type damage on top of tap timing bonuses for this character. This is essentially buffed version of Sober Mask Legend, which makes sense for the character. I totally get it. So it is interesting, though, that this character is focusing on captain actions because, as we know, the files are in the game for the Enma Zoro thing. So I would think that Enma Zoro, whenever that comes out, probably next week, he's also going to be a captain action style unit. So I'm interested to see what the character is going to be doing. So yeah, very, very intriguing stuff here with this Queen. Not a lot going on, but the fact that he has this captain action to ignore certain status effects. Now, going back to Sober Mask, with that mechanic, it's kind of similar to Toki, where Toki could target 2 characters and they're basically immune to basically everything. It's very similar to that. So if you have double Queen and you use both of his captain actions simultaneously, it means for the next 3 turns, you can't be affected by bind on the character. Despair is the big one, especially as they're both captains. Being able to vanish and just completely not have to worry about despair. I believe it avoids like special bind, special reverse, blow away, like all of those mechanics he just completely avoids as a captain, which is really strong. But it's just the fact that it doesn't really do a whole lot. This is a very old school style captain effect. It's still a lot of multipliers though, but the fact that you don't get access to super class and super type, it does nerf the damage a little bit, but being able to avoid certain gimmicks as a captain is pretty good. But it doesn't avoid it for the crewmates. The crewmates are still avoided by still have to be inflicted with those things, and it does mean that if you're using Queen as one captain and then your other captain is something else, they still have to be dealt with the mechanics too. So if you get hit with despair, yeah, Queen can ignore it, but your friend captain won't. So there are still benefits to it, and there's obviously drawbacks to it as well. It's fine. It's just that Sanji is like so much more fun. It is what it is. And the fact that this Queen doesn't have the Rush Sugo special either. Like, I get it. It doesn't make sense for him to have it. Because we just have so many characters with Super Tandem recently, so I don't know. I don't know why they've done it this way, but like it makes sense thematically why he has the captain action. Anyways, let's have a look at the special of this unit. So it does 1 times damage dealt by normal attacks by this character in non-type damage to 1 enemy at the end of the turn for the next 3 turns. Essentially what it means is however much damage in normal attacks this Queen does for the next 3 turns, you do that at the end of the turn as damage. It allows you to get around resilience buffs, which is the big thing. But obviously when you use his captain action, it gives him 500 times his attack as tap timing bonus damage. that is actually affected by normal attacks only, so that's kind of a nerf. But at the end of the day, you can just ignore resilience is basically what it means for 3 turns. Changes crew's slots, including block, into tandem. A full board of tandem slots, we take those. Reduces defense up and threshold by 6 turns, fantastic. Boosting color affinity of driven and cerebral by 2.5 for 1 turn. Cannot be removed by the crew or enemies. Do you know how insane that effect is? The fact that no one can remove it. Okay. The reason why this is good is because versus Kaido is a thing. So versus Kaido, when you use his special effect, versus Kaido removes all your beneficial effects, and this says cannot be removed by the crew or the enemies. This is great. You can use this character special, and then you can go ahead and use Kaido, and the color affinity is going to maintain, which is so good. However, there is more to his special. It says that if the crew has a color affinity boost, attack boost, and an orb boost at the same time when you launch the special, boosts damage dealt to damage taken increased enemies by 2.5 times for 1 turn, and applies a minus 30% driven cerebral resistance for 1 turn. So the Int Kaido crew team is becoming one of the most bonkers teams in the game. We've already talked about Legend Jack, which came out prior to the anniversary. We've had versus Kaido, and now you add this on top of it. And I'll give you one guess as to what the new Legend King, we're assuming there's going to be a Legend King. A new Legend King is going to be. He's going to be Int, he's going to be Driven or Striker. One of the two, right? He has to be. Probably Int and Driven, so we'll wait and see. But the fact that you have this effect where you can get, you get the color affinity boost active, a big color affinity boost, which can stack, and then 2.5 times conditional boost against increased damage taken. And the thing is like, because I think it's like versus Kaido's versus gauge versus effect, I think that inflicts increased damage taken. I'm pretty sure it does. I could be wrong on that one. I'm pretty sure it does though. So the fact that you can get a 2.5 conditional, further resistance, because we know with Legend Jack also does resistance stuff. So there's just so much going on here. And even just as a unit by itself, you're not really going to see this effect all that much. But even just the base effect of getting rid of resilience for 3 turns, matching slots, good utility, and a big color affinity boost. Like, yeah, he seems good, but at the end of the day, like, I feel like pulling for Sanji is going to help you more overall than pulling for Queen. That's just the way that I see it at the moment. Let's go ahead and have a look at the rest of his kit. So his crewmate ability does make tandem slots beneficial to the crew. Crewmate ability 2 reduces his cooldown by 2 turns every time another character uses a special. That is bonkers. He does have fear resistance and the ability to resist the special limit effect. A lot more characters have had this recently. It's kind of interesting. And then his support effect, Jack, Kaido, and King. Once per quest, if you use the special, reduces defense up by 2 turns. Very, very good support effect. And then the super tandem effect is very simple, actually. You just need 2 of the characters, Kaido, King, Jack, Ulti, one of the Toby Roppo, of course. Reduces threshold by 3 and a 2.25 driven attack boost. So, like, nothing crazy, but it's a good super tandem if you do get it to level 5. So that's the breakdown of Queen in terms of his normal kit. It's basically versus Kaido's new best friend part 2, because we already talked about Jack being versus Kaido's new best friend. This is also Kaido's new best friend as well. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing when they release King and how that also goes in with the rest of this crew. That team is going to be nuts. I really cannot wait to see that. Anyways, we do have more to talk about with Queen. We've got his Rumble stuff. So Queen in Rumble is a little unfortunate, and we'll talk about it in a moment what I mean, because yeah, I think they kind of shafted this guy in Rumble. It almost feels like this unit is not going to be a Super Sugo Fest exclusive. I don't think he's going to be. Anyways, let's have a look though. His Rumble Special, 29 CT. Large horizontal range for damage over time, level 3 for 20 seconds. Damage over time doesn't see a lot of play, but it's interesting. He also gives speed down and attack down level 6 for 20 seconds to the large horizontal range. Decent debuffs. If your team has Kaido, King, or Jack on the crew, targets 2 enemies with high CT for 100% chance of special bind for 8 seconds. So it's not the most broken special ever. I just don't really think you need this. If you're running an int-driven team, why would you use this over so many other characters, right? Because not only do you need to run this, you need to run a Jack, King, or a Kaido, and I believe Legend Jack that came out recently, he's got a whole striker focus kit with his Rumble ability. So the only other unit you'd really use it with is versus Kaido. And versus Kaido, he's fine, but he's not the best in Rumble either. So yeah, to be honest, yeah, not a good Rumble kit. His Rumble ability gives int teammates level 6 HP and 6 attack, and then Driven get level 5 speed. It's a perfectly fine Rumble ability, but it's just the Rumble special isn't really that potent. And then, unfortunately, this is what I'm talking about. Queen actually doesn't have any GP stats, so I don't know if this is a mistake and they forgot to put them in, or it's just like straight up, Queen is not meant to have any GP abilities. So that is a bit interesting. I don't know how I feel about that. That is just weird. The fact that, you know, Odin and Toki also received them, but then you got Queen here, which doesn't have them at all. They've just got the generic stuff. Yeah, that's a bit of a red flag in my opinion. I don't know. He does reduce damage taken from side characters by 30%, and it looks like he's either going to resist special bind or resist action bind. So that's pretty cool at least, but no one's really going to use this character in Rumble. This character looks really cool though. I really want to get both of these new units and test them out, because I do feel like the Int Kaido crew team is going to be like absolutely bonkers in terms of Super Boss stuff. And the new Sanji, I mean, whew, that new Sanji is wild. But that is going to wrap it up for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. On that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.